Welcome to tonight's Facebook Live and YouTube live stream with the Department of Design and Creative Media for our Thursday night live sessions. So, tonight we're going to be joined by Nollaig Crombie, the head of Department of Design and Creative Media, and then later in the series we're going to be joined around 7:15 by Sharon Maxwell, lecturer in fashion with promotion. So, let's welcome Nollaig.
Hi, Fiona.
So, Noel, you're so welcome. That's two nights in a row now. We had our post-grad part-time event last night, and now tonight we're talking about all things CAO, undergraduate, and we're going to go through the five CAO programs that you have available in your department. So let's get started. We're going to cover tonight the level 8 in design, which is that program that allows you to dip your toe in graphic and digital design, fashion with promotion, digital film and video, and also animation. And then we're going to move into the BA with digital film and video, the level 7 program. We're going to move into the BA in animation, followed by the BA in fashion with promotion, which will feature with Sharon, and then the BA in graphic and digital design. So a lot to cover in terms of undergraduate programs, but let's get started with that level 8 program, the 4-year honours degree. So first of all, I suppose it's a common entry degree. Can you tell the viewers tonight a little bit about the program?
Sure. Yes, Fiona. This program, we're really excited about it because it has really grown since it started a number of years ago. We have access, so the student comes in and takes a series of tasters from each of the programs. So, as you've mentioned, film, animation, fashion, and graphics. And through those tasters, we'll call them, they decide at Christmas which route they'd like to take. So apart from those particular tasters, they're also doing some common modules, which are in tandem with the other programs that are happening, the level 7s. So that would include, theory, history of art and design theory, communications, and photography. And yeah, so
So it's broad, really. And you're talking about, I suppose, that common entry in that first semester. So for anybody watching tonight, so September to December, really, we're talking about of 2022 is that kind of that taster part. And then they branch off into their specialism then in terms of then the January of 2023 in the program. So that's the level 8 choice on their
that's the level 8
CAO.
course. Yeah, that's the
And
level 8.
the practical elements of the program are what really sets it apart too. I suppose the fact that the majority of the design programs at LYIT really are getting you ready for the world of work.
Yes. And so students are very much hands-on. Now, we had a slight variant on that last year, obviously, but we like to have students hands-on in the studio. We really encourage a lot of drawing. There's life drawing throughout all of our programs. We have analytical drawing. It's really about building up observational skills, Fiona, and then honing in on the particular skills from each of the disciplines. And you'll hear a little bit more about that from Sharon. But let's say, for instance, in film, they'll understand storyboarding and preparing for shooting a film. In animation, they might be looking at stop motion and various other styles of animation, a little bit of on screen, a little bit of 3D. And in graphics, they look at typography and all that goes with, using graphics cleverly in layout and so on. So, yeah, very varied. They do 6 weeks of each discipline in the first semester. 2 disciplines at a time if you're doing the maths, because there's just a 12-week period. But each of those blocks are really intensive. And then what we find is that by Christmas, the student has pretty much built up strong enough knowledge to determine which path they would like to take. Now, you do need art to take on that particular common entry. You must have art at Leaving Cert. If you don't have art at Leaving Cert, we will view your portfolio, because I know that many schools may not have that option, or that might clash with another subject of the student's choice. And so we try to make it as comfortable for everybody to access our programs. And if they have a portfolio with a strong sense of art and design, absolutely, we will look at their portfolio, digital portfolio, Fiona, only at the moment, because we've pushed away any kind of hard copies during the pandemic. And it has actually worked in our favour, because now we can look at digital portfolios so much easier from anywhere in Ireland or abroad.
And the thing about the program is as well, and it's important to highlight this, you do not need to come into LYIT starting this program as the specialist. That's our job at
Yeah,
LYIT to get you there. So it's the team that prepares you. And I often find that sometimes maybe it's more related towards design. You get that nervousness almost from learners. I don't know if I'm a good enough drawer. I don't know if I'm creative enough to be in that. That's a misnomer. Like that is something that people should maybe dispel that myth. It's our job to
absolutely.
get you there.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I mean, I even think back to my own days in college, and I'm sure Sharon and other staff will concur that, you go in to college sometimes feeling that you were pretty okay at school, at what you did within your discipline. And then you find you're in with a group of people who are all really good at this. And so there's a little bit of competitiveness, but that's good because it sort of raises everybody's expectations of what you can do. But also, what we try to do when you come in through the door, we sort of ask you to leave what you've learned outside of there behind. Because what we want to see is that we have this raw talent that we can hone, that we can really take to a higher level and build up your confidence and build up those drawing skills and observational skills. And when you do that, you can see a lot more about what you want to do in the future. And that isn't to say that what they've done at Leaving Cert or elsewhere, was not necessarily important. Of course it was. But there may have been a structure within how they dealt with examinations, for instance, Fiona, that might not have provided them with the opportunities to really explore their own creative awareness. We would have students, for instance, that come in and feel from day one, oh, I know that I'm going to do graphics, but I'll have a little taster of everything else anyway. And then they end up doing fashion because when they do the 6-week block in fashion, they realize, gosh, I never had this amount of intense awareness of this particular discipline before. And now I find myself, I'm loving it and I want to stick with it. And this is where I'm going to take my career.
And that's what's great about that the BA in design, the common entry,
Mm.
is that opportunity to taste it, because you find a lot of students who maybe are studying art or maybe who didn't get the chance at art but who've been creating this portfolio. And again, portfolio guidelines are actually specified in our prospectus for anybody who's thinking, well, I couldn't even start a portfolio, I wouldn't know where to start. It's specified there. But I suppose the level 8 for anybody who is undecided about which stream of design and creative media that they're interested in, then they should really include that in their choices. So for anybody watching tonight, it's CAO code LY408, because we're quite conscious of the 1st of February deadline is just around the corner. So we're going to move now towards the level 7 program. So we mentioned that the common entry has those tasters, but what's great about LYIT in your department is you then have the actual specialisms as level 7 options. And for anybody watching, a level 7 is a 3-year bachelor degree with a +1 top up option. So it takes you the same time as the level 8, but it's done as a 3+1 option. So let's talk digital film and video. Art's not a requirement here, isn't that right, Nollaig? Let's talk about this program.
That's correct, Fiona. This is the only program within the department where art is not a requirement. However, if you have art, I think you'll have a little bit of an advantage because, of course, when you're dealing with storyboarding and even visualizing something, when you're looking through the lens of a camera, if you have that sort of leaning towards artistic awareness, then the chances are you'll have a greater awareness of how to shoot a film. But in saying that, if you haven't ever done it before, we will teach you how to look out for the best shoots, how to look at lighting, how to take, the correct lens and so on and so forth, how to storyboard. And not everybody's going to storyboard in the same way with an artistic flair. Some people might lean towards sound, for instance. We have a very strong
Mhm.
component within the film program in audio. And, the student might end up being a sound editor. There's no reason why, because the program, specifies film within it, it's all aspects of film. It's what goes with film. And, films are made 50% sound. So, using audio is extremely important as well. So we understand that. So a student who might come in reaching those kind of levels of wanting a career in audio may feel somewhat disadvantaged because, oh no, I have to draw. But what we would say to that student is, look, we just want you to explore these areas. We're not going to put you down if you can't do it. We're not going to say if you fail that you mustn't continue any longer. Failing is not, it doesn't even come into our vocabulary, because what we suggest to students is that you try again. Students, provided they are trying out new experiences, we will reward them. It's the student who feel that they don't want to trial something that's where we sometimes find ourselves saying to the student, are you sure you want to be in this program? Because, this is all about exploration. It's all about experimentation. We're not going to say you have failed. So please do try. And then if it doesn't work, and, design is all about that, Fiona. You'll find the
Yeah.
same with Sharon, probably, dressmaking and pattern cutting and all of that area. You might find yourself doing 3 or 4 iterations before you find the correct one. But the
Yeah.
journey through the 3 failures, if we call it like that, are in fact a very important part of the journey. So we award the student for trying it 4 times.
And I suppose, again, going back to the practical element, if you haven't been, or if a student is watching, prospective student is watching, or a parent, the design, the digital film and video suite, the media suite, and our facilities at LYIT
Mm,
always blow people away across, whether it's photography or you're looking at our drawing room, our fashion lab as well. But in terms of
mhm.
digital film and video, being able to walk into that room where you have almost that production side and then the kind of the capture inside,
Yes,
and recording element, it's amazing.
it is. It's fantastic. I mean, we have fantastic facilities, I have to say. And I think we were probably the first in the country. Now, it's going back 20 years or more since we set up our AV studio with green screen, and we've been updating it ever since. But the students can explore such fantastic facilities, TV cameras, and then the editing suites, the audio desks, the green screen, of course. So they get to explore all of that aspect of how film is made. The drawing studio, as you mentioned, we have live drawing with model. We really embrace that idea of understanding anatomy, drawing the human figure, and that goes across all of the programs again. And the photo studio is fantastic again, with lighting,
Yeah.
with light. Yeah, it's great.
I once I had a group in to the photography studio, and we went in a school group going through LYIT, as happens often, or used to happen more often. And we had the fashion students were actually in the photography studio, and they had just designed footwear and a handbag, and were capturing the products that they had made at the same time as this group came in, and they were wowed by it, because it just really shows you that you're not just getting learners at LYT ready for the area that they're in, you're preparing them almost for entrepreneurship and encouraging that end of, I suppose, being able to run their own companies as well. And we'll chat to Sharon about that more as well in the space of
Yeah.
fashion. And that's where you're teaching them to be photographers as well as fashion designers or creatives. Graduate opportunities in digital film and video, Nollaig, where would the careers be?
Okay, so we have in our local area, I guess there are openings in the theatre, radio. We have small media companies in the Northwest. But, if you want to go further afield, obviously there are lots of opportunities. And here we are on a live link. That type of opportunity is there as well. So students can, or my apologies, graduates can work from home. A number of students would have set up their own small businesses. If they choose to go into the larger production companies, obviously then there is a certain level of expectation to travel. You must have a driver's license. We have a great connection here with the local film office, Fiona. And
Yeah.
Aideen Doherty, who is at the film office, is wonderful. And we collaborate as much as we can. If there is a film shoot coming to the area, we will put up, that there's certain aspects of casting required, or there may be opportunities for riggers or camera people. So all of that is happening within the Northwest at the moment, and we hope and expect that it will be even greater. Belfast obviously is another obvious route to take from the Northwest, but we have had students, going to the greater, larger areas, London and beyond, so that they want to get their foot into much larger productions. But that's for the student or the graduate who doesn't have any commitments. But very often, as you know, Fiona, we have students who return to college and they may have other commitments, maybe carers here in their own hometown. They might want to work locally. So we're very conscious of trying to identify areas and opportunities that they can enter into locally, so that they can build their opportunities locally and not depend on having to go away.
Yeah. And the Northwest and Northern Ireland would present a lot of opportunities in the design and
Mm,
creative industries. There's so many opportunities across the spectrum. Moving in then towards the BA in animation. And the
mhm,
BA in animation, in terms of graduates, there have been fantastic graduates who've come through LYIT. But again, that connection with industry keeps running through all of the programs that are offered in your department. But can you
mhm.
tell people who are watching tonight what is, I suppose, animation and what's animation at LYIT look like?
Okay, well, animation effectively means moving image. So anything that moves on a screen is animation. Um, when we manipulate drawings, you're animating it. So you're moving it, whether it's the background is moving or the characters are moving. So the students are taught, they're brought through every aspect of planning, layout, background design, character design. Again, like I mentioned within film, there may be aspects of the particular production that students veer towards rather than another. So you might get somebody who really enjoys character design, but they might not want to be involved in background design. Nevertheless, in first year and second year, we try to ensure that they cover all of that, because what you think you might be very interested in when you come here may not be exactly what you end up doing in the long term. You might find yourself being just exposed to a new type of way of working within the industry, and by doing so, that's the route you take. So, character design, and lots of different methods of animation, obviously, because you can do everything from shadow puppets to paper, montage, moving sand around under a camera is animation. And then there's the classical animation, of course, which probably most people understand, which is like the Disney-esque, type of animation and the type of things that you see on TV.
And in terms of, I suppose, it's the fun element I often think in design and creative media that, as you say, there are no mistakes, and encouraging and pulling out the fun element is actually, I think, a really strong part of what your team delivers in the department across the whole lecturing team. It's encouraging fun, encouraging creativity. Companies like Cartoon Saloon and Dog Ears have recruited from our animation program. And there's one graduate who recently worked on Space Jam. Isn't that right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Jerry.
Yeah,
Yes.
Jerry.
Yeah, that was really interesting how all of that came about because I think I mentioned to you before, Fiona, I worked on the original
Yeah,
Space Jam.
that's amazing.
I'm trying to think what year it was, 87. No.
Probably the
I'm,
90s, was it? The 90s,
oh,
early 90s, I think.
yes, early 90s. Anyhow, I know there's about a 25-year space between the two. And it was probably the mid 90s, actually. You see how I'm,
Yeah.
really dating that. But I was in the industry, as you know, for 12 years or thereabouts. And so my heart is in that animation program. I just love it. But so Jerry found himself on the most recent edition of Space Jam. And we couldn't believe it, the two of us. So we must collaborate again for our DICE conference, which is coming up. And you see, I have
Would
my
be amazing. Dice
banner here.
behind you. And again,
DICE is another
I,
event that we enjoy bringing our students back to participate in, and we have expert speakers coming into that as well.
amazing.
Um, so it's
And
a
so
real
many great
community.
people.
Yeah, I find, even within Ireland, obviously the animation community is very small. I know people in all of the various companies, and that sort of access is really important and valuable because we
Mhm.
can call upon somebody, and there's a great generosity of spirit and communication from all of our contacts, which means that if a student is really, really keen to get a foot in or to have some sort of job experience, work placement, then, we can probably set it up. And if we can set it up on a live production, what we have agreed with various companies throughout the country is that we would offer a live brief. So, in other words, the brief would be a real brief. Let's say Cartoon Saloon are working on a
Mhm.
concept. Um, and so we take a part of that concept and we undertake it within the studio within LYIT. But the Cartoon Saloon team, they view it and they not necessarily assess it, but they sort of give guidance as to how they would do it if they were doing it. So you've
Yeah.
got a similar experience to actually working within their studio.
That's amazing, though. Again, that connection with industry and like the level that that is at for the students at LYIT is phenomenal. And now we're going to move into just the BA in graphic and digital design. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that program. And then we're going to move to Sharon and we're going to focus and spotlight our fashion promotion program. But in graphic and digital design, it's a 3 year degree. Now, art is a requirement in this instance. Can you tell the viewers tonight a little bit about the program? And for those that are watching, feel free to drop your questions into Facebook as well, because we will answer your questions at the end. I know there was a number of questions in advance of this event that were sent to us directly, so we will be addressing them at the end in the Q&A. So graphic and digital design, art's a requirement. What is graphic and digital design?
So not only is art isn't the only requirement. I think, sorry, art is one of the requirements, or design. There are alternative subjects that you can take. So if you take technical studies or design, we'll also look at that. But coming back to the definition of graphic design, well, visual communications is how it's referred to in some colleges. We choose to call it graphic and digital design because a lot of it is so digitized now. Much of it is now on a screen. Back in the day when I was at college and many of our staff were at college, I suppose we did a lot of paperwork. We still work on paper and we still look at the print output. But I guess there's such an emphasis now on screen delivery that we're conscious that if you do, let's say, a brand, which is part of graphic designer's role, a brand for a company, then their brand will have to transfer onto screens and paper. So you could have printed advertisements, you could have screen-based advertisements, a little bit of motion graphics as well. So animation comes in there as well. So within the graphics program, if you're keen to do motion, there is scope to do that there as well. Illustration is part of our graphics program. Some students may lean towards very strong drawing skills. That's available within the graphics program. You could have an interest in book design. There's a return now to the vinyl and the album covers, and people are very often collecting album covers. And back in the day, that would have been the graphic designer's role, to come up with some really novel image and typography that fits a commercial requirement. All of these programs, obviously, you're working towards the client's expectations. So you will receive a brief which outlines what the requirement is, and then the student will work to that brief. So there's corporate branding, there would be typography, there would be, as I said, a little bit of motion design, web design, anything that is deemed to be commercial runs within areas of graphic and digital design, Fiona.
And the program itself, some students have actually gone into education too, have gone
Yes.
on to do like a master's, and some in secondary school teaching in this space from the program.
Yes, the Department of Education recognises the numbers of modules within our programs. So provided that they're a fit, the student can go on and take the Masters in Education, and then having done their Masters are then deemed suitable for a career in teaching in secondary school.
Mhm.
So that's a route for
Yeah.
students as well. And yes, you're right, a number of our students have gone that route.
Yeah, and a number, I suppose, of the graphic and digital designers that we've noticed of late too have gone into the corporate world and have gone down the route of marketing, brand, agencies, into
Yeah,
consultation roles in the space as well.
yeah.
Because I suppose more often than not, the likes of Snapchat and those types of
Mhm.
social media platforms are using graphic and digital designers as well to help deliver the content for
Yes.
social media platforms.
Yes, that's correct. So you've got that whole sort of area of social media and everything in between. Even packaging design is an important feature and an exciting feature of all of the work of the graphic designer. So if you feel that you've got that leaning towards those commercial areas, whether it's on social platforms or whether it's in the sort of tactile area of working with 3D structures and designing the surfaces of those 3D structures, then that might be the area for you.
Yeah, and
Something I
again,
would say, sorry,
yeah, go for it
something I
there,
would
Milk. Yeah.
say, a thread that goes through all of our programs, and you touched on it earlier, and we're really proud of this particular area, would be that entrepreneurial understanding, how business works. And we've a fantastic member of staff, Dr. Tina Patton, who delivers that thread all the way through from first year all the way through to fourth year. And it gives a student a real insight into what it would be like to work in business. Because we know that while it's important to build up your creative and your confidence within your own creativity, that there are financial expectations as well from all of this. And there's no point in being a fantastic artist and not knowing how to get your work out there and value it and have
Yeah.
it valued by others. So that's where that entrepreneurial stream comes in really, really useful to students.
Yeah, and that's a very unique aspect of what is delivered at LYIT. It's been
It
able
is.
to lead, and not just as you say, as a great graphic designer or as a great animator, but to be able to go into the world of work. And again, it goes back to the modules that you're delivering, but also that connection with industry. And I suppose this allows me nicely to pivot towards fashion with promotion. And no, look, I'll be back to you because we've definitely some questions that we want to kind of
Thank
touch
you.
on as we wrap up. But we're going to now introduce Sharon Maxwell to the conversation. And Sharon Maxwell is a lecturer in fashion with promotion at Letterkenny IT. So Sharon, you're so welcome. I don't know whether this is your first. Is it your first Facebook Live with me online?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes, this is the first
yes,
Facebook Live.
yay,
We've done something
yeah,
similar before last year for Dice, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
How are you? How's everybody? Hello.
Good.
Thank
Good.
you
So
for
you're
having
so
me.
welcome. If anybody knows fashion at LYIT, they know that at the heart of fashion at LYIT is Sharon, and she's one of the, I suppose, drivers of fashion with promotion at LYIT. Now there is a huge team there, but the team, you're very much at the heart of what happens in fashion with promotion at LYIT, Sharon.
We're all very passionate about it, but yeah, you're right. I'm a very small part of a fantastic team, and that's, I mean, such a great team to work with. Wealth of experience, absolute wealth of
Yeah.
experience. So you couldn't be but passionate when you're working with all of that enthusiasm from everybody else. But yeah, we're very
Yeah,
lucky to
and
be
you
at
see that
LYT.
energy, and you do see that energy when you go to the fashion lab at LYIT. And again, the fact that we have a fashion lab is itself a ringing thing to say. But when you go to the
Yeah,
fashion lab, it is that, and going back to what Nollaig said about kind of expression and creativity. There's music on, you go in. There's
yeah,
machines on the go. There's a freehand
yeah,
sketching. You'll find that there's patterns being cut. There's a little bit of everything
yeah.
in the fashion lab. So can you tell people about the
Yeah.
BA in fashion with promotion?
Yeah, I mean, the course I think is quite unique in its offering. It's particularly designed to facilitate, I suppose, the change in fashion over the last 20 years. I mean, it's been phenomenal, but I don't know that, all courses maybe represent what's required now. So we're very much focused on preparing our students for success in the world of creative fashion, whatever angle you may wish to take with that. The course is very different in that at its heart is the ability of really good the ability to produce really good design, so a really thorough design process.
I think we may have lost Sharon, have we?
uh, Making pattern draft walls, and I can see myself move. I'll just I've got internet now. Yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah,
Oh,
we can hear you
sorry, am
there.
I back?
You're back. You're back. So you were talking about like the pattern
Sorry.
cutting.
Yeah. Yeah. So at the heart of it, at the core of our course is good design, leading to learning how to pattern draft, which is really exciting actually, being able to draft patterns for your own garments, and then making it up into toiles, and then making it up into fabrics, that understanding of fabric and how to do that. But then supporting that, because as Nolik mentioned earlier, the whole entrepreneurial side is there, and you can produce great design, but really we need to produce great design that can make a living from. So you need to understand how to photograph it, how to video it, how to do the business, how to do the marketing of it, how to do your own branding, and also learning the theories about fashion so that you've got a good base of knowledge to pull from, and uh, yeah, how to cost it and source it, and how to get it out there. So there's a huge range of skills there that you enter into or you engage with, I should say. Um, So how that pans out really is like first year is getting through the basics. And funny, sometimes people would say to me, "Oh, sure, I couldn't do fashion. I can't even work a sewing machine." And honestly, that's covered in the first 2 hours. That's not a problem. So you're starting there with the basics of from the making, the pattern cutting, the illustration, right through to the history, and then you get a second year. And second year is about like the industry standard. It's really up a gear. It's really about um, knowing all those skills to work in industry. Third year then is more about building on that, but finding who you are as designer. So thinking about what's your niche area, what you really love in fashion. I mean, you could end up going off and making, as one of our graduates did, their own range of handbags. It could be sportswear, it could be, what are you really into? We have to find that. And then once you know that, okay, you need to create a really good range and we're going to help you. To cost it, you're going to source it, you're going to brand it, you're going to put it out there in social media, you're going to test it out. And then when you come to fourth year, it's about taking that understanding of what you really love and then building a collection around it. So you have the big collection. And yeah, our students have like an amazing show last year and the year before just of their collections. So that's kind of how it works.
Yeah, and it's funny. This week we featured Neve Porter, and Neve Porter is a past graduate of LYIT's
Yeah,
Fashion and Promotion. But her story from LYIT to New York Fashion Week, like, wow, what a story! Having designed for Mary J. Blige, Zendaya, Michelle Obama, and
I
she
know.
worked. She described it as like a small company in Brooklyn, but all of the work you did with her as a team in fashion and promotion prepared her for that job, but also prepared
Yeah.
her to work with people like that.
Yeah, I mean, I know from my own experience in fashion, you can't just say, I know how to pattern cut and make, and that's me. You have to know the whole span of skills. And that's what stood to Neve when she went out to New York. She very quickly got into, right, I'm a designer, but then she was managing it very quickly because she had the skills with graphics, she had the skills with the photography, she had the skills with the costing, the management of the business. So she was managing it like really quickly. And she said that that's what stood to her. It's the fact that she's got that broad spectrum of skills, which
Yeah,
is, as opposed the fundamental objective of the course, just to prepare you for that.
yeah,
Yeah, Neve's
that's
an amazing
important,
student,
Sharon.
and we've so sorry.
That's important, Sharon, to highlight that because I recently met a student who was at a bit of a fork in the road and they were really, really drawn towards fashion with promotion, but there was a parent's perception that that's not a career. Sure, why would you
Yeah,
study fashion with promotion? But when explaining to the parents and to this young girl in particular, as we went through LYIT, it became very clear that yeah, this is a degree that is getting you ready for a
yeah,
career. It's not just a
and
hobby.
it's kind of interesting you say that because recently I was contacted by a really key design label in Ireland for and they were looking for a junior designer, and they came to our course because they knew of the skills, which was fantastic for the startup.
Mhm.
But I contacted all our graduates, and would you believe, out of all our graduates, only one was able to apply for that position. The rest said they were really happy in the design position they're in, and I think that stands to it. I mean, they're all doing very different things in fashion, but they're all very happy in what they're doing.
Yeah,
And this was an excellent design. This was an excellent design opportunity. But in one way, I was disappointed for the company that came to us that there was only one. But she's brilliant. So I think we'll hear hopefully good news on that.
yeah.
But on the other aspect, it's really reassuring to know that we have a course where we've got graduates going out that are really happy with what they're doing. So you know,
Yeah, but also
yeah,
working in their industry as well. And again, going back to
yeah.
that there is employment and there is that kind of end in terms of graduate careers and opportunities. If students
Mm.
wanted to find out more, Sharon, I know you're available, you're always that welcoming approach. How would someone contact you if they were looking to find out more about fashion with promotion?
Yeah, by email or even like if they're not comfortable with that, even just contact us through our Instagram account,
Yeah.
fashion_at LYIT, or contact through Nollaig Crombie, the head of department. Yeah.
It's fantastic. And we have, I suppose, a question that's come in. So we're going to bring Nulla back now on screen with us, Sharon. So reminding everybody again tonight. So we have discussed the BA in Design Level 8 4-year honours degree. So that's your Level 8 choice in the CAO. We have gone through with the amazing Sharon Maxwell, the BA in Fashion with Promotion. We have also gone through the BA in Graphic and Digital Design. We've gone through the BA in Digital Film and Video, and I don't think I've left anything out. So the BA in animation, maybe I did, and the BA in animation. So we've gone through all four then of the level sevens, all of which have the +1 top up. So they've been your level 6, 7 options. But some questions that have come in. So no, look, this one's to you. Do I need art as an entry requirement, or can design communications graphics, so DCG, meet the entry requirements? It comes
Yes,
in
it
from
does
Tara.
go.
So
Yes.
DCG is accepted. So
It is accepted. Is accepted for the graphic design program, and I guess if they were looking at animation, it would be a good idea to have a lot of maybe as a portfolio on the side as well with drawing skills,
it's fantastic.
because that can be quite a technical course that they do for Leaving Cert. But we want to see some free flowing drawings. If they have that along with that particular qualification, then that's great.
It's fantastic. Sharon, I'm going to ask you this question. Do you have to arrange your own work placement, or does the college help you when it comes to looking for a work placement?
The work placement is really important in the course. It gives you such a great and an invaluable insight. So what we kind of do is we try to find out what the student wants to find out more about, because very often you'll say, okay, I really know what design I'm doing, but what I want to know is what the ins and outs of a design business are. Or I might be really interested in fashion buying, in which case, okay, we need to know more about that. So it depends. We kind of consult with the student as to what they want to know, what they're interested in, and then we help them pair up with different options. We support them along the way. If they have somewhere in particular they really want to get to, we'll support them get to that, providing it fits in with what their needs are, etc. So we consult with the student and ask them what they want, and then we help them to find a place. And if they, we'd also encourage them to find where they want as well. And then we work with them to ensure that that is, that is going to be right for them and that they're
Yeah, the right
comfortable in the
fit.
position that they go into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another question that's come in, Nollaig, in relation to a student thinking about Letterkenny IT in my choices, but also considering Dublin, why would I choose LYIT over one of the larger universities?
Well, what can I say? I think we have a magnificent team. We're a small community. We're a very tightly, we just have that kind of friendly way of approaching students and their needs and their requirements. And I suggest accommodation is good value as well. That's another option. That's
Yeah,
another reason to consider the Northwest. I
yeah,
know Dublin is very difficult
absolutely.
to find accommodation.
Mm.
Yeah, so, and within Donegal as well, Fiona, there are fantastic societies that the students can join. So they could be out hill walking in Errigal, they could be out in Glenveigh, they can be down on the beaches, and doing all of that heightens their creativity as well. So there's kind of there's great options to collect creative ideas and feast their eyes on things, as well as getting good exercise and all of that. So there's a lot to be said for coming to the
Yeah.
Northwest.
Absolutely. And again, I suppose that
Great
campus life,
atmosphere.
the student experience, the atmosphere, yeah. And you have the ability to stand out. And I think when you're in an
Mm.
institution like Letterkenny IT, you have that ability because the opportunities, like you're not competing with as many people for the really great
Mm,
opportunities. So you're getting more chances. So hopefully that person watching is thinking about LYIT and their choices, and is considering just that student life and student experience. So that wraps
yeah.
us up for this evening. We've covered all. Yeah,
I was just going to say another aspect of our community, and this just proves how closely knit we all are. Our local cinema, which is a substantial cinema, uh, are happy to air our animations once a year. And we have that lovely
Amazing.
partnership with them. So imagine an animation student getting to see their work on the large cinema screen. I mean, that's unheard of in most towns or cities. So we can offer that in Letterkenny, and we hope to continue having that opportunity. And we work with the local cultural centre as well. We have all our exhibitions up in the cultural centre. We have the theatre on our, doorstep, and all of that goes with that. It's just great, Fiona.
Yeah, and I suppose to highlight that showcase, and that's one thing to say. I suppose there's a graduate end of year show, and for anybody who's watching tonight who does want to find out more, like Sharon mentioned, the Instagram page of fashion underscore at LYIT on Instagram. But in terms of the graduate showcases, they're also available, aren't they, Nollaig?
Yes, we have a website that we host ourselves within LYIT, but we've kind of a design website, so it's LYIT Design. And if you just Google that, you'll find that all of our exhibitions, the work that the students have done over the years, will be visible there. A little bit of more insight into the students' portfolios will be there as well. You just get a lot more of the news kind of stuff specific to our department is in there. So I would urge anybody to go there. So yeah, you'll find that, or you can email myself and Nollaig.Crombie at LYIT dot I. So there are various ways of getting hold of us if you need further information.
Yeah, and that is up on the screen there, lyitdesign.com. So
Oh,
for anybody now who wants more information, there are so many avenues, as Nollaig mentioned to Sharon, in terms of contacting us via email, or you can contact myself, Fiona.Kelly. Sharon and Nollaig, thank you so much for joining our Thursday Night Live session, your session number 2. And next week we'll be back online again at 7 p.m. and you'll be able to find out more about all of the programs available at Letterkenny IT. For now, we wish everyone a happy Thursday. We look forward to connecting with you again virtually on Monday night for our Access Studies live webinar, where you get to meet the Access team and find out more about the Access Studies program at LYIT. For now, we're signing off on this Thursday evening, and we look forward to connecting with you virtually on Monday.